Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Sunday Night Reef Talk live stream. Now, the last couple of weeks, I've had some fantastic guests from all the way over from America. Ryan can see where this is going.
I can see where this is going.
So I had. Let me do it. Let me do the joke.
Okay, fine.
So obviously, Stephanie, Queen of Reef, a really influential YouTuber, really making her way. And then last week, a millionaire reefer who's been in the hobby for 30 years, got so much experience and knowledge and seen so many awesome things. And now I've got Ryan. So
thank you.
Sorry, guys.
Thank you. I like how I told you roughly what I was going to say. So you got in there first so that I couldn't say what I was going to say about basically being, discarded for 2 weeks so that he could hang out with his new American friends. And all of a sudden he comes crawling back and says, "Hey, why do I do this?" And I'm like, no. Yeah. But then I just can't resist.
Exactly. Yes, my better mates now. I like to call them my better friends.
Well, I can't compete
better
with
people. So.
I can't compete with $1 million reef tank and Stephanie's skimmer tattoo.
Skimmer tattoo. Yeah, I forgot to ask her about that. Oh no, did she mention it? I can't remember.
No, she did mention it. I saw it, yeah.
She did mention it. Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. But anyway, so and the other thing is, so this is a new start time for those of you who are watching now. So normally we do this at 8 o'clock, but to be completely honest, I get too tired when we finish. So I've been trying to do these so they finish at after an hour. And Stephanie, with hour and a quarter wasn't too bad, but then last week was 2.25 hours, and it finished at like thick end, almost 10:30. And I had to, I was just exhausted. So we're bringing it forward an hour, and I'm going to try again to make it around an hour long.
But sounds good to me.
We might go over. Someone's called me out on the real reason you're here. And that is that you've got the biceps, Ryan.
I know, I saw that. It's like, it doesn't matter that this happened like 3 weeks ago. Every live stream, it gets mentioned. I could definitely not win a fight against Jason Statham. So,
but you don't know until you've tried. So
true.
This is Logan Paul's boxing, Jake Paul's boxing, KSI, the other YouTuber. Yeah, I think there's only one way.
It'll be Reef Talk and Prestige Reef slapping.
Exactly. No. But anyway, so today we're going to be talking about things we do that we know we probably shouldn't, and you certainly shouldn't do. And this is, I think there's probably all of us, no doubt all of us do things that we know full well we shouldn't be doing and should be doing things properly. But there's kind of a few things that we do in particular that I thought was worth sharing. We do have a member question as well before we get into that. So this is more serious matters before we get into the funny stuff. And this is from Bubbly Reef, who says she hadn't seen her yellow Watchman goby for 3 days. Is there anything she can do or check? Any ideas where or what could have happened to him? Red Sea Reefer Peninsula 500 with 10 fish, all very small. Now you've got.
Is it for me?
We'll start with you, because you've got a negative outlook on this.
No, well, my first question is if you have a net on top of your tank, because if you don't, the first place I would check is down the back. If you have a weir which is not covered, I would also check in the weir, because quite regularly I get fish, even though I have a net on the tank. Quite regularly I have fish that end up in the weir, and sometimes they even end up on the filter, like the filter floss. The wrasses do when they go through the coral farm. I don't know why. They obviously just want to go for a ride, basically. And if that it's very hard to accurately tell you what the problem is without actually knowing what the other fish are. For example, if you have a tank full of huge aggressive trigger fish, that might be where it's gone. So it all depends.
She's saying she's got all babies, so I would guess there's nothing predatory, but yeah, entirely possible.
Yes.
But yeah, the other question that might have happened. So yeah, do check down behind the tank. But the other question was, is there anything I can do? If you've got a small yellow Watchman goby, watch shrimp gobies just disappear. I've got a Dracula goby in my Fluval Evo. I've seen him 4 times maybe. I know he's there. every now and then he pops his head out. But they just, when they're very small in particular, you don't see them very much, especially when it's a new tank and all that. And there aren't, it's not, it doesn't look like a natural environment, so it's probably fine. And if you go digging around, you'll only stress them out more. So better to just leave it and wait a couple of weeks to see him.
Have you ever seen a white tiger goby?
Yes.
They kind of are a different name, but a white tiger goby. I had one for I think 8 years. I think I saw it 8 times.
Yeah.
It used to hang out like you'd see it every so often upside down on under one of the rocks. But it was one of the most. It was. I love fish, which I don't see all the time, because when you see them, it's almost like you've got a new fish again. It's like you don't feel excited when you wake up in the morning, you see yellow tang swimming around, but when you see a fish that you haven't seen for a year, it's exciting.
For sure. When it's a fish like this that's really secretive, and this is the fish you're talking about.
Yeah,
right?
it is. Yeah.
When it's a fish like that you almost never see, that's too much for me. I don't like that. But when it's a fish like a geometric pygmy perchlet that you see once or twice a day, I love that, because then it feels like a treat.
Well, trust me, it feels like a really big treat when you see it once a year.
Yeah, it's like it's Christmas. Well, it probably is Christmas. Comes out on Christmas Eve. But, and there was someone else mentioned something about so Shellsmuck 2 is not here for the Reef Talk. He's here for the drama, and this could be a reference to my video on Friday, which a couple of other people have said they're wondering about Calquasa videos. So this was a bit of a disaster on my part, and I stuffed up.
It's almost like you're an amateur now. All of a sudden,
I know.
Like not putting out videos every week. It's outrageous.
Well, everybody in the comments was just, mate, chill out. It's just a video. We'll get over it. And the supportive way you'd expect. But that's the first time I've not put out a video for at least 2 years. And in the last 4 years, I think there's only one other time when I didn't, and that was when I was on holiday.
I like how you said everyone's been really supportive, and then
apart from you.
And then the message I sent you immediately was, "Didn't put out a video. What an amateur."
Exactly. Yeah. Most people.
I sent it to you on WhatsApp, didn't I?
Yeah.
But obviously, I hardly ever put videos out, so obviously you have to understand, people listening, that it has a double meaning.
Exactly. But yeah, so it was just very, very frustrating. I don't like to miss videos, but hey, never mind. Someone was asking about Calquasa, and we'll be doing Calquasa videos in the coming couple of weeks. So we will be back next Friday. So there's other people. Hang on a second. So this is the Goby person. Thanks. Well, I do have a net top. I'll just have to keep fingers crossed. So there isn't. To be fair, it's got to be proper tight fitting. If you've got cutouts around the edge of your light brackets, for example, they can get out the smallest gaps, but gaps that you would think, no way can they get out there. They can jump out. So have a look anyway. But hey, I reckon he's probably just hiding, because that's what they do. It's like if you get a Halichoris wrasse, especially in a newish tank, they'll go into the sand. You won't see them for a week.
Sometimes longer. Yeah, sometimes longer.
And then you'll be like, they're definitely dead. And even with my Watchman Goby, I know what they do. But even then, 2 weeks in and not having seen him, I was like, he's dead. I know he's dead. Yeah. He's like, what? But anyway, because he just disappears. So you were supposed to fill whilst I took a sip of water. This is.
I didn't realize. Oh, you didn't tag me in.
I know. I should have set you up. Anyway,
I was too busy reading the comments. I don't usually read the comments, but I was. Do
you know what? It was so good last week having the Rashid, who was
professional. It was so good having professional people on. Was it?
That's not what I'm saying.
What you're saying?
But having Andrew Sandler's mate in the background doing all the picking up the comments and posting and telling me them and all this sort of stuff and bringing up photos, it was amazing. What I'm saying is I need an assistant.
You need someone who knows what they're doing, not me.
Well,
I can remember. I think the last hour I didn't even plug my mic in, did I? So
yeah, you can tell it's in now. I can even see a blue light on the microphone.
Oh yeah, you can. Yeah.
But anyway, so if there's a comment you see, by the way, tell me and we'll talk about it. But
as we go through this, I'll let you go first when we do start. But I think that we should give the comment section a chance to let everyone know what they're doing, which they shouldn't be doing. And it's interesting because this video is obviously do as I say, not as I do. But having looked at mine, it's all the things that I don't do, which I should be doing, rather than all the things I do that I shouldn't be doing, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, mine is mine's a mix of the two.
Yeah, mine's all the things I don't do. This,
Okay,
basically, this
fair.
will show everyone just how lazy I am as a reefer,
Yeah, exactly.
which to some extent is dangerous.
There was one other thing actually before we go into the, and actually that's a really good point, Ryan. So if you've got stuff that you don't do that you know full well you should, mention it in the chat, and we'll talk about it as well. Or if there's things, what was the opposite of that? I can't. My mind's gone blank. But anyway, if
doing the aren't, is that it?
Yeah. Basically, if there's something that you know you should be doing but you're not, or you know you shouldn't be doing but you are, say it in the chat and we'll talk about it.
A good one's coming already about using tap water. That literally blows my
water.
mind. Oh shit.
No,
I mean,
no.
But the people that use, I did look. Don't get me wrong. When I very, 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 very first started, I had an air stone in my tank as well as using tap water, and it was a nightmare. It was just there was just so much algae. So anyone who's doing it successfully,
But to be fair, tap water isn't necessarily, not all tap water is the same. So my tap water is 300 plus TDS, and it's probably got copper. It's definitely got sodium in it and nitrates and all that sort of stuff. But if you were in if you're in the Scottish Highlands and it's basically crystal mineral water that's coming out at 10 TDS, but there's nothing harmful in there, then there's no problem with it. So I would always say to people, just don't use tap water. An RADI filter is so cheap, just don't use tap water. But there are limited circumstances when I would say there's no harm in it.
Yeah, this guy,
very limited.
His TDS 11 to 20, it says.
There you go. So that's the sort of thing I'm talking about. I still would run that through RADI. Sorry, probably an RADI. Certainly, I'd run that through DI resin because it's probably nothing major in there. But if my TDS creeps up to 1 out of my my filter, I change the DI resin, because what if there's something in there? What if one of those parts per million is copper or even nitrate and silica? You know, there's no reason not to do it.
Silica's the one that I have. Every time I send it off for an ICP test, they say there's silica in the RO water. But I don't know how to, because even if I change all the filters and everything, I know you can get specific filters just for silica or silicates, but I've changed all the filters and it's just still there. So I almost just ignore it now. It doesn't seem to make any issue. And my TDS is 0. So how can you have 0 TDS and still have something in it?
But that's the thing. So the BRS did a video about this, and 0 doesn't necessarily mean 0. Because it's a measurement of some electronic ions or whatever I know. But it does, some stuff can still get through. But that was the other thing I wanted to talk about before we get stuck into the stuff we've already got stuck into.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's my fault getting carried away. But so first off, you remember obviously 52 weeks of reefing from Bulk Reef Supply, the first amazing series. I was addicted to it when I was I'd set up my first tank, I think, but I was watching it and learning from that. They're doing a season 2.
I saw that. But how can you improve on it? I know that obviously, look, I know they know a lot more now that in comparison to before, but I just wondered if if this probably will be maybe 5 or 10% extra. I will watch it. And I'm not saying it in any bad way. I'm just trying to think what more can they do, because they did it so good the first time. So
this is true. Some of the things. So did you watch the video BRS did with Ryan's Magna talk the other day?
It's
about an hour long.
Was that the one where he's talking about the microbiology and things and bacteria and stuff?
No, he was talking about lighting quite a lot.
No, I didn't see that one then. No, I saw the other one that he did recently.
Yeah, I've made a note for myself today to make a tribute video to Ryan, because he's just so good for the hobby and so important for the hobby, and I want to make a video that's like
to get him on your channel so you can replace him again.
Yeah, exactly. There is 0 chance of him ever coming on a live stream. He's far too busy for that. But I just think it'd be cool. But he was talking about here we go, lessons from NASA.
Oh, I did see it because I didn't see all of it. I saw, I think, the first half of it, where
Right.
because he's talking about how our aquariums are basically the same as the International Space Station, where we're putting organisms in a place which isn't meant to be there.
Yeah. Life support, he calls it. And all that
Yes,
sort of stuff.
yes.
But it's just so interesting. I just love that there are some things in there. Obviously, at the end of the day, BRS is there to sell stuff, but there are things that they do that they're like, they're not doing this to make money. We're doing this to make better. And they always say their mission is basically, we know that if we give people information, we tell people how to do this, we'll make more money anyway. So
yeah.
and
I
like
don't
one
even
of the
care if
things,
they are if they do want to make money. They are the pioneers, basically, of hobbyists in this hobby. If you see what I mean, they're doing all the things that some people, like, even if you had the money or I had the money, it's like, would you still set up 5 or 10 tanks to cycle them all in different ways? You just wouldn't. It's like, I wouldn't want to do that.
There's no way I'd do that on my own. But even if I had 10 employees or 50 employees or whatever, I don't think I'd have the gumption to do it like he does.
No, and so basically, the things that they do it really is game changing. They're like proper channels compared to us.
Don't say that. my plan is to at some point be the number 2 channel in the hobby. I don't think I'm ever going to catch BRS, but I think I can be number 2.
You'll catch me soon. You're catching up.
I'm not
fast,
far
I
off.
think.
I think I'm on 48. What are you on? 48.
54.
Must be 50s.
54, I think.
Yeah,
well,
okay.
Did your subscribers drop recently? Because every so often YouTube just takes a load of subscribers off. I don't know if you've noticed that happens, and it happened to me, I think, on Friday. I wonder if it happened to you. And the only reason I noticed was because I was like 1 away from 54,000, and all of a sudden I'm like 40 away from 54,000. So I don't think that 40 people unsubscribed in like an hour.
That's funny. Do you know, the one thing I have noticed with that is I look at obviously all the stats for videos.
Yeah.
And I was looking at stats for live streams the other day to see if they make money, how many people watch them, that sort of stuff, and if they gain subscribers. And they make enough money. I'm not complaining, but the last one made 16 quid. So it pays for the pays.
Where's my share?
No, exactly. So it pays for the software. That's fine. But I saw one the other day that there was the live stream that you and I did. I lost a subscriber.
Nice. It was probably me.
I was thinking, how many subscribers have I gained from this? And one person they were obviously on the edge, and then they saw that one video and they're like, no, this is enough. I can't take any more. We've got to go.
They were like, nope, can't be dealing with Ryan. But then they missed out on Queen of Reef, didn't they? And then Polo's Reef. So it's their loss.
But it's just funny because none of my live streams gain subscribers, and it tends to be the same number of people watching in the chat and the same number of people watching after. So it's kind of like and this is, like I've said before, this feels like just hanging out and chatting with a load of reefers, basically.
Yeah, well, so far I think we're 20 minutes in and we haven't spoken really anything about what people are here for. We're actually just talking about YouTube algorithms and analytics.
Well, let's do that. Oh, this is the thing. So I love talking about YouTube, so I'll get carried away. So I'll stop now, otherwise I'll be here all day. And I'm going to open the window a little bit because it's already getting warm. Ryan, tell us your first. Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, you want me to fill in the gaps temporarily as you show over in your stomach.
And I know, yeah. Sorry, did you see my six pack then? Right.
Yeah, I think so. It's more like a keg, really. I think
I'm just flexing, like,
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was a perfect example of how to fill. So
yes.
we're learning together. I like it.
True. Well, that depends. As I said, I'm not sure if I've forgiven you for like abandoning me for the last 2 weeks.
I know, yeah. But you've not. Well, you say I've abandoned you, but you used to keep pestering me during the live streams, don't you?
That is true. People don't know this. But if ever you see my name pop up in the live stream, I usually will send one message just to make Alex aware that I'm here, because it puts him on edge because he's never sure what I'm going to do, and then I start sending him messages on WhatsApp. So if you see my name come up, and then 5 minutes later you see Alex randomly laugh or smile out of context when he's just looked at something off screen, it's usually because I've sent him something. So,
give an example from the Polo Reef stream last week.
Which one? Because there was a couple of them. The one where I was trying to get him to get I was trying to get
yeah,
you to get him to say forget about it, because that's obviously a New York thing.
forget about it.
And he said forget. He said forget it, and I asked you to get him to put about in the middle. And the other thing I asked you to do was to ask him how many mafia bosses were buried underneath his reef tank. But apparently that is not acceptable to ask.
So I'm trying to have a sensible conversation with him, and I'm looking at these texts just going.
And the other thing that usually happens is he then stops looking at my messages.
Yeah.
Because I'm too distracting. But it can be a little thing for you to look out for in the future. If you see him randomly laugh, put in the comments, "Are you talking to Ryan?"
Those two weren't even the ones I was talking about. The one I was talking about was, although actually this wasn't you thinking about it. It was when he started talking about fish taking medicine through their anus.
Oh yes, well no, you laughed at that because you're like an 8-year-old child, aren't you?
That's funny. Come on,
is that actually true? Because I assume it is true, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, I suppose people can have that as well, I guess. So in theory, why not?
Ryan, however you take your paracetamol is a matter for you, not for me.
I'm like, if you've got a packet of Nurofen.
Anyway, so things.
Now that we've covered fish anuses.
There as I say, not as I do, but for reef tanks. So these are the things that. So I'll kick us off with, and there's one that I know everybody will already be thinking about me, which is because it's just something I always do. But the first one that I would never advise anyone to do. My phosphate sits at, if I'm lucky, 0.3. The worst it's got to is 0.6. Oh, sorry, I've pressed the cuff button on the wrong screen. And that's for some tanks, for like LPS or softies, that's probably not such a big deal. But for an aquapora dominated tank to have phosphate as high as that,
I'm surprised. When you told me that, I thought you said 0.06, not 0.6.
I wish. That's what if I could press a button, that's what I'd do it.
When you said to me, I thought 0.6, that's not like that bad. That must be one of his, low, like ease people into it, like you did with the heater before. But 0.6 is very high for an acro tank.
So he's only got to that high once, but every time I test it, and I think it's coming down now, and it's been better the last 6 months or so, but it's often well above 0.3, which is but it's so some of the corals don't look as amazing as I think they should, but I put videos every week, and I don't try to make them look different to the way they look. I try to make them look how I see them, because I'm not selling them. I don't care, and they still look good. So it's like, so there are times when it got to 0.6, I was like, should I bother changing it? And then I spoke to someone else, and they were like, mate, get it down. I was like, yeah, okay. But then
why is it like that? Because obviously it comes from somewhere, which means you must be putting loads of food in and have no phosphate remover.
That's it. Basically, I'm too lazy to run RoaPhos. And so that's what it boils down to. I've started running RoaPhos again recently, because you can mess around with all sorts of clever little phosphate reducing media and phosphate methods. But at the end of the day, RoaPhos is the best way to get rid of it. It's tried and tested.
Was that Laura?
No. It's my tank was making noise, and I was like, what's going on? But there's just no two ways about it. And by the way, someone's onto me.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. Someone else has also got one of mine as well, because I like, it wasn't one of mine. I saw their comment, and then I thought, yeah, that is definitely what I do. But I'll get that in a second.
But phosphate is because I do feed. Well, I don't feed that heavy. 6 cubes of frozen a day, heavy enough, I suppose.
For one tank, that is quite a lot.
Yeah, it's not. And it's not a big tank, I guess. So relatively heavy. But the main problem is I don't export it. I've got a refugium that does some of the work. My original plan with this tank was I wanted to move away from RoaPhos because it's just too lazy and it's too messy. I don't like it. So I set up the refugium. I put a ton of I put four of the Tunzi lights on it, and I split it. I cracked open the sumps to make it as big as possible, so there was loads of space for the Kato. and that didn't do squat. Basically, Cheeto, Kato, whatever, does not do anything for nitrates or phosphate. Sorry, it probably does a few small things, but I find when I harvest Cheeto, the nitrates change massively, and the phosphates hardly shift. So you're wasting your time. I'm sure if you had a big enough scale, it would do something with phosphate, but I bet it would do a lot more for nitrates still, even if it was massive.
That's really interesting. I've never had a refugium myself, and I thought
Really?
if someone said to me, "What does a refugium do?" I would have gone, "Yeah, it lowers nitrate and phosphate." But the fact that you have one and say it doesn't work, because people use those algae reactors, and they claim that it works for phosphate as well.
I've had them for years, and I've played around with various lighting combinations, obviously, as I do, and I've tried all sorts of different things. I've tried algae reactors, but it does do something for phosphate, I'm sure, but it's never noticeable. When I harvest and then I test nitrate the next day, nitrates spike massively because suddenly there's nothing to absorb them. I'll test phosphate, and there's no real noticeable difference. It might have changed a little bit, but you could not so I could say that is because of this. Whereas the nitrate, I can say without question, it's because I pulled out a load of algae.
Have you ever seen? Oh, you would have probably definitely seen the algae scrubbers.
Yeah,
like the professional algae scrubbers. I know one of the farms, ACI Aquaculture in America, uses those.
Yeah,
and I think they swear by them. It's interesting that phosphate as well that doesn't go down as much because it's the same as with Nopox. So Nopox considerably lowers nitrate, and although it claims to lower phosphate as well, it doesn't have an equal effect on it. That's what I've noticed anyway.
I completely agree. It's nitrate X basically, and I'm sure it does still have some effect. But I've also done carbon dosing, not Nopox, but I've used the Tropic Marine stuff. And it's the same. It'll strip your nitrates out, no problem. And phosphate, it does something to it, but maybe I'm not using it wrong. I can say with confidence that the refugium doesn't necessarily do it unless you've got an enormous one. But with my experiences with carbon dosing is it might do something for phosphate, but don't expect it to control it. The things that have worked, lanthanum. I tried lanthanum chloride.
Yeah, I tried that.
That works, but I just every time I was dosing it for maybe 6 months, and it does work. You don't need much of it at all, a few milliliters. It makes a difference. But I'm all the time I'm thinking, is that flocculant going to escape? Because apparently fish can ingest it, and it doesn't do them any good. And I also think I started to get build up on my lanthanum on my ICPs. And I'm like, you hear stories about people having tank crashes. So I think lanthanum is good as a short-term measure, but not a long-term measure. So and all these other ways of doing it, there's loads of different ways, and you can play around with them. But at the end of the day, Rowaphos is a pain in the ass, and it's mucky, but it's a really good way of dealing with phosphate. You know how it's going to work. You know how much to put in. You know how often to change it, and all this sort of stuff. So.
I think Milev's Reef swears by lanthanum chloride, and I think he just pours it in. You're meant to put it into a 5-micron filter sock for it to catch any particulates, because obviously it immediately takes the phosphate. It's like instant, isn't it? And it turns it into something solid, which is why you have the 5-micron sock. But you can't leave the sock in there all the time because 5 microns does not last very long as a filter sock. It overflows almost immediately because it's too fine, if you see what I mean.
But he does use it on his big tank, because when I was doing loads of research on lanthanum, and I concluded, because you look at his tank and it's like, that's all right. There's not a lot wrong with that. But that tank is not what I'm trying to achieve. For a start, he's got a lot more water volume than I have.
Yeah.
But also, most of his SPS corals, they're not. I think most of them aren't acros. I didn't have a really proper look, but it looked different to my tank. I think there were a lot of big Montes and Stylos, those sorts of things.
I remember he had some big Stylos.
Yeah, and they're just enormous colonies, and it's different. It's not better or worse. It's just different to what I'm trying to achieve. So I was thinking, okay, he can do it, but he's got a very different tank to me. And I just for every success story, you can read about a wipeout or fish diseases or corals getting. And you can when it's corals, you can never be sure. It's like, well, was that really lanthanum, or was it something else that you hadn't identified? But
that you did 3 weeks ago.
Exactly, or 6 months ago. But it's just, I don't know. It's just, the long and the short of it is, don't run phosphate at 0.3 in an aquapora dominated tank, and just change Rowaphos once a month. It's not that hard.
Have you ever noticed with lowering phosphate an adverse effect? Well, I suppose you don't really lower phosphate, as you just said, but an adverse effect to your
Yeah.
corals?
I've never noticed that, but I don't think I've done it harsh enough, because apparently it can. If you strip it out, it can starve them.
Not
Or
necessarily strip it out. If you drop it really quickly, it
Yeah.
definitely can affect the corals negative. It's the same as any sort of stability. But I have had it where all of a sudden you might lose one you do change phosphate, and all of a sudden you lose one random frag. So you've got 10 frags of the same thing. They're all fine, and then one of them just randomly dies. And the only thing you've changed is the phosphate remover. So
Yeah.
it's I try and use phosphate remover sparingly now, and prefer. To be fair, I do feed quite heavily. I need to move on some of the big fish in the tanks, because obviously I got 40 fish, didn't I, from that tank burst, and it's not. I'm running it as almost like for fun with those big fish, rather than as a proper business. Like a proper business should be focused on like the best possible fish in there for specific purposes, not having some foot-long Soho tank just for a laugh. You see what I mean? So I do need to move on some of those fish. So your tank.
But with phosphate stripping, Rowaphos also pulls out. It changes your alkalinity, and it pulls out other things. I don't know how.
Does it change your alkalinity, or because your phosphate's fallen, your alkalinity consumption goes up? Because that usually works as well.
I don't know the science, but I know that if you put in a bag of Rowaphos, a big bag of Rowaphos into your tank, it will affect your alkalinity will change. Whether that's because suddenly your corals are uptaking less, or because they're not eating, or I don't know what it is, but it does change it. Whether it binds the ions or whatever it is, I've got no idea, but it does. It has an impact, which is why you've got to be careful with it.
Because I know phosphate does slow growth of coral, which would obviously inhibit their uptake of alkalinity. So it makes sense if you lower the phosphate, the alkalinity will go down. So in theory.
And that's one thing with my tank, is that I get good growth, but I don't get spectacular growth. And there's no good reason for that apart from phosphate. And I bet if I get my phosphate sorted, I'll get better growth. Because some of most stuff grows fine, and actually it grows too fast, if anything. But I've got a few tenuous. I got four tenuous. One of them's grown fine. The other three, 6 months, and they've based out a little bit. That's all I'm getting.
Yeah,
drive me crazy. But tenuous are fussy anyway. So putting them in 99% phosphate water probably isn't what they'd want. So
true.
Okay,
shall I take the next one, or do you want to check the comments so you can keep up? It's up to you.
Let's check the comments. And whilst so it's good. I'm going to be distracted for a second, so you'll need to do the old filling.
Okay. Well, I'll go with my first one, and this is by far not my most shocking one, but it definitely is one which I think lots and lots of people do, and I have never done this ever in my entire life. During a water change, people usually heat up the water before they put it into the tank. I have never, ever heated the water before it goes into the tank. Ever. So now the water obviously comes out at like room temperature from the... So I'm not taking it from the RO barrel, if you see what I mean. So it's not like it's 16 degrees or whatever that would be in Fahrenheit. But I have never, ever heated my water up before, ever. In 15 years. And that includes when I was using natural seawater.
Natural seawater.
That was brilliant, natural seawater. Although I did get a cigarette butt in it once. That's true.
Oh, God. Where was that from?
I got it in Bognor Beach. Do you know what I used to do? This is the only reason I stopped doing it. So most people are clever. And what they do is they have a pump, and they put the pump in the sea, and it like pumps into some barrels which are in their truck, and then they take it home and heat it up and put it in. Well, what I used to do is take those jerry cans and put some waders on and go at is it slack tide, when it's really, really still? You can just walk in in my waders and just fill it up. Now, once I got it wrong, and there's only like a half an hour gap. So if you get it wrong and the waves start coming in, they can knock you over. And in December, when it was snowing, I got knocked over by one of the waves. and the drive back from the beach to my house was about 30 minutes. And I kid you not, it was so cold because remember it was December. I had to take most of my clothes off, and I sat in my boxers and drove home because you couldn't.
It's getting weird, Ryan.
Just maybe for you, but that is a genuinely true story, and that was the last time I ever used natural seawater because I just thought it's too much hassle basically after that. But I used it for years. I did use it for years. There were a couple, as I said, there was a cigarette butt once, a couple of condoms floating around. But other than that, it's all good.
Say, yeah. But so with the warming water, then, so that I've got no problem with that for the most part. And when I do water changes most of the year, I don't bother.
Yeah.
If it's 20 degrees, then it's not going to make a difference. You can work out the maths, but if the water in your water change is 20 degrees and your tank is 25 degrees and you're changing 10%, it's going to change by half a degree or whatever it is. So it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And I have an auto water change that does it over 2 hours, whereas yours is all at once. So it's
fancy.
But in the winter, when my RO comes out of the pipes when it's freezing cold and it's sort of 15, 16 degrees, I do heat it then, because otherwise but not because I think, oh, my poor little fish and corals, God, they're gonna strip and all the corals.
It's a much bigger shock, yes.
I'm not even bothered about that. That's part of it, but the main thing is my bloody temperature alarm starts beeping at me.
That's true. Actually,
it will drop by a degree.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh,
that is true. Someone wrote, "Did your nuts ever recover from the cold, Ryan?" Just about. They've never been the same again. But I'm glad we managed to cover that in today's show. You never know what's going to come up on these, do you?
Exactly. But yeah, I can't remember what we were talking about before you started talking about your nuts freezing off.
I was just
the cold, the difference in the alarm's going off.
Yes. The only thing I do have always wondered, I believe this is true because it tells you on all the buckets of salt that the salinity is different depending on the temperature. So I always wondered if I was now obviously my salinity didn't go up, but I wonder if it was like there's a really small difference if you heat it up or if you don't heat it up, what the salinity is. I don't. That's just a guess. Someone in the comments might know. But on all the buckets, they say make sure you heat it up to this. And the other thing that I also don't do that's to do with this is you're always meant to add the salt to the water. So you
do the other way around.
Every single salt. It's just easier just to pour it into the jerry can and then fill it up. Do you know why that you're meant to do it that way?
Because it will all precipitate.
That's what it is. Yeah, there can be some precipitation. I think it's like a minimal amount though. And remember, these days I don't even have jerry cans. I just mix it up, obviously, in the farm. But I always just wondered. But does it really make that much difference? Some scientists will say yes, but I have no idea.
But do you know what? So that's the sort of thing. With that, I would never pour water into salt mix, just because. But with most things, I think we overthink things all the time, and we're like, oh God, I've got to get everything absolutely perfect, and everything needs to be spot on. And I think actually we probably need to chill out a little bit about that sort of thing.
True, because it probably makes a 1% difference. I'm interested in what precipitates out, like what specifically part of the salt precipitates out.
Well, BRS did that test when they had they just left salt mixing for 2 months, something like that.
Yeah.
And they did find that the levels changed certainly on the high alkalinity salts like Red Sea Coral Pro. If you left it for a week, it changes. It starts at like 12 and it ends up at 7 or 8 or whatever. So things do happen, chemical reactions or whatever. Yeah. But
I remember that video. That was the video which I and half the world's population turned to tropic marine salt.
That was clay salt.
That must have been the best marketing for tropic marine ever, because once people are on a salt, they rarely change it. And when I remember I was on a sunbed in Vegas when I watched that video, and I just thought, coral farm, that's what you're going to get. It doesn't matter that it's more expensive. If these people are telling me to buy this, this is what I'm going to buy.
Only the best.
So, but for me, it actually works because obviously I mix the salt and the water in the system. Obviously, you've seen it before. I separate the tank, so I don't want any crud or anything like that because it's whatever's in there goes into the system as well. So,
but that's the other thing about tropic marine salt, and that's why the reason everybody buys it, apart from, or the reason everybody stays with it, is because it mixes clean.
yes, yeah.
Which is why everyone got so cheesed off, or why a select group of people got cheesed off when they got the Turkish clay.
I quite like the parameters on it as well because they're more normal parameters.
Nice and low.
Yeah. I don't.
Although, do you know, on that point, so I've always thought if you're using Red Sea Coral Pro, you're crazy because you're gonna spike your alkalinity in your tank. Probably not enough to make a difference, but why cause yourself to have a bump in your parameters? And that's not a way. You can't dose by just doing water changes with high parameter salt. And I always just thought, nah, you're an idiot if you're doing that. And then Coral Euphoria, it turns out he uses Red Sea Coral Pro.
So we're the idiots.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah. But the reason he used it is because it's high in trace elements.
Ah, that's interesting.
That was I was like, do you know what? That's brilliant.
He's a genius. He put out a video today, actually. I don't know if you.
It was a couple of days ago. I've already seen it.
Oh, was it? Yeah, but there's no talking in it. It's better when they talk when he speaks.
Yeah.
But it was still quite riveting, with the music.
And I like his kind of, because all the timing on the scene changes in the beat of the music and all that.
With the aptasias where it's like dun 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 dun.
Yeah. And all like the squelching noises that he's put in, that he's dubbed over them. It's like proper Channel 1, BBC 1 Blue Planet stuff. It's so good. And I've tried to do a beat, a scene change or a cut with in line with the music change. I've tried to do one of those before, and it takes ages. Like, go, no, is that right? No, what about this one? No. So he does like 30 of them in a video.
I just try and get a video out, and half the time I fail. So, I like how everyone's trying to do these like really professional videos. I think my videos are usually they're more thought provoking than for the background, if you see what I mean. Not the ones when I'm in the coral farm, but like the philosophical ones. They're more thought provoking. So people don't need those fancy edits when we're doing mine. This
is very true.
Yeah.
But you said a minute ago that I said I was going to look through the comments and catch up, and whilst you did your first one, and then I just started listening to you instead. So I didn't do it, but I'm going to scroll through and catch up with the chat anyway. So now I've realised that there's none of the questions that I thought I saw that I needed to ask. Do you know what?
I did see a few of them. The easiest one to see is the newest one, which is what is your oldest fish? And my oldest fish is 15 years old. And it is a purple tang. And although she does look like she's been through the war because she has a Mohican, it's for whatever reason, she obviously got into a fight with one of my other tangs and it just never grew back. So it's since she's been in a tank by mostly where she's like the dominant fish now, it has grown back more, but it's never going to be a curve again. So, but yeah, it's my oldest fish. And I don't know what your oldest fish is.
So I've sold. Someone asked. Might have been you. Someone asked me the other day if I've still got my first ever fish, and
it wasn't me. Yeah,
it was you. I know. I sold them all. So my oldest fish is probably. I think my foxface died recently. What did I bring across? I had a silver belly wrasse that I brought across from my last tank. So I've probably had him 5 years.
Is that you've still got it? I'm assuming.
Yeah. So, and I think there's a radium wrasse as well. I've had a couple of fish in my current tank that I carried over from my last tank, but we're talking 5-6 years max. 5 years, probably max. So not very old.
I'd be surprised if there were that many people that have fish older than the one obviously I have. I know of some clownfish, which I think the oldest clownfish were 36, which is insane if you think about it.
Yeah.
For like people know that koi carp, which obviously are massive, live for like 100 years, but you can't imagine a little clownfish living for 36 years, can you?
No, but a goldfish will live for 30 years if you treat it properly. If you put it in a bowl, it'll die after 5 years, and you'll think that was good going.
Yeah.
There was a follow up on the salt mixing. So Billy Sherwood saying that if it's warmer, it dissolves quicker. I'm not bothered about that because I leave it to dissolve overnight anyway. So it doesn't matter if it's 10 degrees cooler, it's still going to dissolve. But if you want to do it quickly.
When I first, this will definitely shock people. I would look, just so everyone knows, I was a terrible reefer at the beginning. Like I didn't, not terrible. I made plenty of mistakes, and as I said, I had I even had an air stone in the tank, and my clownfish used to host the bubbles from the air stone. The only reason I had an air stone was because it was a tropical tank originally, which was turned into a marine tank. But I used to mix the salt just before I used it, so not only was it not heated, I put the correct amount of salt in a 10-liter bucket, stirred it up, and poured it in. That was good enough to go for soft corals. So
for soft corals, yeah.
Yeah, there was only soft corals. Yeah, I don't think I'd get away with that these days.
On the point of going back to phosphate, so Foxy's Reef says give Coral Snow Plus. Is that KZ? The what's that method that like produces pastel corals? What's it called?
Oh, I know which one it is. It's like that ultra low nutrient one.
That's the one.
No, is it? Yeah.
You
KZ.
add bacteria in. KZ, yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Coral Unzucked, that's the one.
Yeah, that's
it.
Yeah.
Coral Unzucked, Coral Snow Plus. That's if what this does is turns your nutrients into coral food and skimmer food. That sounds like carbon dosing, because that's what carbon dosing. Oh well, that's what Lou Eckers from Tropic Marine says their carbon dosing does.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's what it is, but anyway, the answer, you can mess around with all that sort of stuff, and I've never tried that, to be fair. And the KZ is another world, but I don't want a million bottles. But you can't beat Raufoss. That's all there is to it.
I actually do like Nios's one. I stopped using Raufoss because it was too dirty, basically.
Yeah.
Because you can't. You can. It's just more difficult. So I have the Nios torque reactors, and if you you can't rinse those. You can't rinse. You can't put water through it like in a normal reactor. So on my old tank, on the 1,000-liter tank, I had a reactor, and I used to just take the tube out, and then the first 2 liters of water I'd throw away, and that was good enough for Raufoss. Because I use the torque reactors now, I started using Nios's. I think it's called Phos. Can't remember. Phos something.
Phos X.
Possibly, yeah. And I use loads of it. I ordered 6 things of it the other day. But it's you don't have to, it's still a bit brown, but you don't have to clean it. So you can just put it in and turn it on, and it's fine. So if you're rubbish at changing your phosphate remover, that's what I'd advise. Get one of those torque reactors, because you literally just lift them out, put them back in. There's no unscrewing it, see if it fits together. That was I remember I used to have a D&D one, and you take the lid off.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh. And then, it's like you have 10 attempts to get to screw it back on, and it would be leaking.
Yes,
and you're like,
you couldn't get the. And if you got the Raufoss in the like the thread of it, it would then like change it. It would like pop up, and it wouldn't fit properly. I used to find the best thing to do was put it on the floor, and so take all the pipes off of it, put it on the floor, put the lid on it, and then push down the floor really hard and just screw like from the top. So there's no movement for it. It only can go down. And that was the best way. The problem is it does ruin the base of your cabinet. You're like scratching it every time you do it.
That was I think it's the FMR, fluidized media reactor, DDFMR it's called, or FMR 500 or something. Yeah. That was my first fluidized reactor. And I stuck with it for a while because everyone said they're good, even though I was using it going, this is a pain in the ass. Yeah. But I've long since ditched them because I hate them. And I've gone through a load of different reactors trying to find one that's really easy to switch over. And the one I've settled on now is this TMC Reef filter.
Why is that more easy to I don't know anything about it. So why is it more easy?
So I'm generally not TMC dry goods. I've not had much luck with in the past. I generally don't go with them. But this, and to be fair, I think they're getting better. I've got a return pump from them that's really good as well. But this just sits. So that little clamp there with the screw, that sits and holds the filter. You actually, I'll bring us back up. Actually,
I'm going to need to get Colette to do a video on this, so we can explain how it works.
Do it, but so you just lift, so that the thing sits there. You lift the container out that holds the Raufoss, and then the actual the filter stays in the sump. So all you take away is that, chuck it away, put some Rofos in, rinse it under the tap, and don't worry about rinsing under RADI water. That's another thing that actually every time I need water to rinse something, I'll use RADI. It's like, just use bloody tap water. It doesn't matter. But anyway, so I rinse Rofos under the with some tap water, whack it back in, 2 minutes, you're done.
It's interesting. I haven't seen it before, but it's a very clever design. If that's how it works, it's very clever.
I've been using this for about a year for carbon, activated carbon.
Oh, so you've got one?
I've got two.
Oh,
and actually, so the plan is I'm gonna have two next to each other, because Rofos is 90% exhausted after a month, but it will still last for another month. That last 10% will last another month. Yeah. This was a David Saxby talk at Coral Freaks, if you remember.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So I'm gonna have two, and I'll swap one out. I'll put new in one week, and then move the other one across. So does that make sense?
Yeah. So you'll keep. In the end, it's a nice idea, but what will probably end up happening is your phosphate will be too low, and you'll just stop using it again.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'll probably get to. What's honestly going to happen is I'll get too lazy and I won't bother using it, and I'll just be like, I can't be asked. But yeah,
I think it's your turn for the next one. I've got a few, but I know you've only got three, so
it probably is. Please do a video on that. I bought one ages ago and couldn't figure out how to use it, so I don't use it. Are you talking about the TMC Reef filter?
Yeah, only that came in just a minute ago, so it must be. So look, you're giving us this big sales pitch on how wonderful it is, and it turns out that maybe it's not as wonderful as you're saying. I like how he says fill, but he doesn't give me any sort of reference of how long to fill for. So do I start
a YouTuber man?
I'm barely a YouTuber man.
But this is so I've got one in this tank here as well, in my little water box. So this is the bit that comes out.
Oh yeah.
So there's a filter. The filter in the sump is this, basically. My hand is the filter, and there's a pump at the bottom that stays in the tank.
You're showing us your penis enlarger.
Oh shit! I got the wrong one. Sorry. So this is just like the only thing that this just holds the Rofos. So, and if I can do this without looking too sexual, you just slide that out.
Oh god, like it's even worse.
You slide that out, and then the filter and the pump stays in the tank, and it's got this little rubber seal at the top. That's quite stiff, to be fair. Normally, I've not noticed. There you go. That pops out. You pour away the Rofos, and this is activated carbon. You pour away the Rofos, pour some more in, put the lid back on, and then this just. I'll do it again. Oh, no, that just slides in. Slides into the filter. And then you turn the filter back on. I'm just going to put this back in my sump. Hang on.
Probably wise. So I need to fill in the gap, but I'm basically speechless. After that performance, I'm not sure there's anything I can say.
Have I turned you on, Ryan? Is that the problem?
No. That's why I think people get offended by the pictures behind me, because I think that they're looking at our faces and they're confused because they can see naked women in the background. So they're like, I'm watching them, but I'm also, I don't know. Someone said I've just tuned in at penis enlarger. See, this is what you get when you bring back, like the third grade, like YouTubers, like the lower down people. Now, look, the comments have got really unpleasant.
So I know Dave, and I was texting him the other day, and he was saying a lot more inappropriate stuff than that. So but yeah, ribs your play. Anyway, we'll move on. Let's get back onto topic.
This is why you lose a subscriber when I'm on.
I don't mean for it to go like this. I like having a laugh. I don't mean for it to get smutty, but we'll move on. But basically that's how the TMC filter works. I think it's really good. It does it on my main tank. I can't hear the pump. It's a little Seachain one. I can't hear it because my main tank's semi-noisy. Yeah. On this one, because it's in a silent room. Yeah. If it's on, I can hear this little.
Oh, so you don't have it on all the time?
No, because I'm in here all day long working, of course.
Oh, so you turn it off into
and if I'm recording the video, the mic will pick that up. So I turn, but I need to put it on a timer, because I try to have it running on a timer overnight.
Turned into Carry On Reefing, yeah.
Exactly. But anyway, but yeah, and to be fair, if it's running 12 hours a day or 14 hours a day, that's enough. It's not going to. That's another thing that it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter that it's not running 24 hours a day. Would it be better 24 for removing phosphate? Yeah, of course. Is it going to kill your tank if you knock it 10 hours off? No.
There you go. You heard it here first. Do whatever you want, basically, is what Alex is saying. Broke back reefing.
We'll move on. We'll get back onto topic.
You're meant to move on.
I know. I'll come back onto my one in a second. How do you feel about reef tanks without a sump? My 110. Sumps are absolutely fantastic. Full stop. They're really they give you a load of versatility when it comes to filtration. You can hide stuff out of the way. You can run a skimmer that you wouldn't be able to otherwise, unless you've got a tiny one like hang on the back, whatever. But they're fantastic, and you can put a lot more filtration in there, so it lets you have more animals, more fish, and that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, you can run a tank without them, of course. It just makes it. There's some things I think is just a little bit harder.
True. Sorry, I was laughing at something else. So you went unless you're considering obviously what the comments thing, and then you went unless you got a tiny one. And I was like, oh, my mind is still back before. But anyway, I myself has run a tank without a sump for years. My very first tank, actually, as I said, it was a tropical tank, and again, although everyone will tell you need to clean the filter on a is it on a canister filter? I never did it. I literally went for years and years without ever cleaning that, and it was fine. Isn't that interesting? Because some people get them out like once a month, and the hassle to clean them is a nightmare.
They are so yeah.
That's the reason why a sump is so useful. Did you clean your freshwater one?
Oh, occasionally, but it was rare. It was funny. I did a video Abyss. I did their display tank, and that runs on canister filters.
Is it?
And I was asking them about it when I was up there filming stuff, and I was like, "So how often do you clean the filters?" And someone said, "I know what you're laughing at."
It's true.
The guy who was doing the maintenance was like, "Yeah, I probably every 3 months or whatever." And then the owner was there, like obviously his boss, and she was like, "No way, you clean that every 3 months." And he went red. So
it's a myth that people seem to clean them at all, basically.
But they did clean them. They did clean them. I got the impression they clean them, 3 or 4 times a year, something like that. But yeah. Anyway,
it would have been less than once a year probably for me. And if I did it, I wouldn't have taken it all out. I probably would have I think because I had a Fluval FX5, which at the time that was like the Ferrari of canister filters. And I think you could do something with them to not have to actually clean them properly. You could like move something in them, I think. And it would like disturb the filters to then basically pull the shit back in.
That sounds like marketing to me, I think.
Yeah, true. True. Don't have a dirty filter, have a dirty tank instead. So
yeah.
Anyway, back to you.
So back to me, and I'm just going to make myself a note.
Is the note you're making, Ryan, looks like he's a man with a big sump?
It is not. But now you've said it. I'll post that. No, so the next one, and I've already been called out on this by Bubbly Reef. And my next one is what you should not do is change your lights. Okay, your light doesn't really matter what lights you go for. If you just get a set of lighting set up, spend a few weeks dialing it in so it looks good to your eyes, or so you get the spectrum right or whatever, and then never touch it again. Throw the controller away, and don't ever buy any more lights until they break. That is what you should do.
Which is hardly ever.
Yeah, exactly. You'd get. So, do you know what? Funnily enough, Kessel's on their website, they say they're rated for 5 years.
Really? What's their warranty? Because usually, based on the warranty, is what they actually really mean for anything. Because otherwise, they just give you a longer warranty.
Well, yeah, maybe, but so LEDs, I would fancy thick end of 10 years before they start to wear out, or because it's like the LEDs just get less efficient and that sort of stuff. But you should not change your lights every 5 seconds. And I change my lights more often than I change my underwear,
which is not very often apparently.
Well, no.
But I've had 3 sets of lights, I think. I had the Hydra. Actually, no, that's not true, because originally I had T8 bulbs firstly, but this was before I had this. As I said, it was tropical tank, and then I had T5 bulbs, which I actually really like the T5 bulbs. It was an ATI 8-bulb fixture with the blue, like the correct bulbs you were meant to put in. There's like some special ones, and that worked really, really well. T5s were one of the best. They were one of the best lightings that I had. Basically, I really liked the look of them. It was only for soft corals and a few torch corals and stuff like that. And then I went to Hydra 52s, and then I went to Radions, and then I've stuck with Radions ever since. So I haven't changed them as much as you, basically.
No, I made the mistake of.
I'll keep talking, even though I have been in the hobby much longer. Have you done chewing your ice?
I'm done. Yeah. I made the mistake of biting, putting a cube of ice in my mouth. But yeah, so I changed. Oh God, we're already at an hour.
I know. I saw it. This is not going to last an hour.
I know.
Yeah, but technically we're an hour earlier, which means in theory means we can go for another 2 hours.
That's it. To be fair, that I've been trying to do it for an hour, and I found it doesn't work. Let's say Stephanie, I did 1.25 hours, and that I was like, do you know what? I can live with that. And then the next week I'm 2.25 hours, and it's like, so bringing it forward by an hour, that's fine. To be honest, I don't mind going back longer now, and that's what's going to happen. I do think it would be better to have it as an hour long. I think more people are likely to watch it after. But at the end of the day,
we go off on a tangent and we get distracted. You spend the first 15 minutes saying hello to everyone. If you cut that out, we'd be done by now.
Well, I have cut that out because of that exact reason. But anyway, the thing is, I just want to have a chat.
Yeah.
And if I could finish this in an hour, cool, that'd be wicked. But if it goes on for 2 hours because we're having a laugh and we're talking about stuff that may or may not be worth watching back, then whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah,
sorry. I was going to say, what people don't realize is before this starts, Alex and I have a chat, which is basically identical to this. He's going to put an ice cube in his mouth now because he didn't learn his lesson.
No, I'm all right.
We have a chat for half an hour before this, and then usually we have a chat for a half an hour afterwards, don't we?
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, but to be fair, if this finishes at 9, I'm happy. Because it got to the point. So last week I was so tired. I was supposed to be going into work the next day. I decided to work from home, which I can do. It's fine. It's not a problem. But I don't like that it interferes with the channel. Can't interfere with my work. That's all there is to it. My job is the number one priority, and it never does. But that was the first time it was like, well, I'm changing my days, and I'm allowed to change my days. It's not a problem. But I don't like that it has an impact. So anyway, I'm digressing. So changing lights. So the trouble is, what I do is I chase lighting perfection, and I actually achieved lighting perfection, more or less. And I went away from it, and I'll show you the. You're going to have to use your imagination a little bit because there's a ruddy grey algae magnet in the way. But this was my lighting setup. I know, sorry.
Clear as anything how good that lighting is.
I know. But that lighting setup, that was 2 Evergrow IT5012s.
Yeah.
And 2 Kessel A360Xs, the old one. The old Kessels. That didn't have quite enough shimmer. So what I should have done is either add one. I should have just added 1 or 2 more Kessels, and that would have been perfect because the color was fantastic. Those Evergrows, the spread, you get a complete blanket, so there's no hot spots. It's a really even spread of light. They're brilliant for that. The color looks fantastic. During the day it was great. The shimmer on their own is okay, but with Kessels it's amazing. And the color in the evening, the deep blues, it was perfect. That was almost perfect. And I changed it again, and now I've got Kessels, T5s, and Reef Brights, and I'm going to change it again. Well, I'm going to tweak it. I'm not changing it properly, but I'm going to tweak it. But I should because I'm going to tweak it because I'm finding that I don't like the T5 look. It's bugging me. It's got that Windexy look, and I've tried to change the bulb combination so it doesn't, but it still does. But really, what I should just do is say, actually, that lighting setup looks 95% as close to perfect as I'm going to get. It's fine. There's no such thing as perfect. If I change it, I'll be gaining something and losing something else. So I should just say, you know what? I've got it. It looks wicked. Stick with it. It's one of the other things that's bugging me about the T5s though is the temperature. My fans keep coming on, my cooling fans, and then as soon as within 5 minutes of the T5s going off, the fans go off.
Yeah.
So that's bothering me. So
I do remember it, especially on hot days. The lights
Yeah.
had to be turned off. I'm amazed that you didn't have more, because obviously we've had such a hot summer. I'm amazed you didn't have more trouble. I know you put some genius methods in.
I did. Do you know what? I put that video of how to cool your aquarium on the Reef Talk Extra channel. I only got 1,000 views. That is, if you've not got a chiller or aircon, that is the perfect way to cool your aquarium. So that's the only video you need. That's why. Yeah, exactly. But this summer it got to where I was. 40 degrees was the hottest in the country, but where I was, it was 37 degrees 2 days in a row. And my tank temperature went up by 0.5 degree. I think that was it, which is fine.
Well, no, obviously, as you know, I have aircon, so it's like it was interesting because I was thinking I'd be so panicked now. I'd be so panicked, and the only reason I have aircon is specifically for the tanks. But it's so I couldn't imagine how other people were feeling. If you see what I mean, but you didn't seem to have any issue at all, really. If it's 1 degree,
I didn't, but it's only because I've figured out 0.5 degree. It's only because I've figured out how to do it. In years gone by, I'd do different things. So you'll always see people like if this is how to do it on a Facebook page, some people will say you've got to open a window, and other people go, no, you've got to close a window, and no, you've got to get a breeze going through and all this rubbish. And it's like the answer is close your blinds, close your curtains, close your windows, and get a bloody massive fan, not a little hobby fan. They're okay, but a bloody massive house fan. Blow it across the surface of your water, and that's it. That's all you need. Don't try to be too clever with getting a breeze in, because at the end of the day, if the air is warmer outside than it is inside, you're just bringing in warm air. And then you open the windows. Go on.
No, I was going to say you can't get a better breeze than a fan that just goes continuously. No, it's never going to be better.
It doesn't do the job. And then when it gets to 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening, or 7 or 8 o'clock now, when it's a bit cooler at this time of year, you open the windows, let the cool air in, and everything's all right. So that's how you do it. And in the past, I've done the whole, I should have the blinds shut and the windows open and create a cross breeze and all that. It's like, no, just everything shut, massive fan, simple. Cabinet doors open.
I used to fill up 2-liter bottles of water with RO water just in case they leaked, and put them in the freezer.
Oh, really?
And then put those in, put like massive ice cubes in there, which it worked, but it was you basically fill up the entire freezer, because obviously they melt so quickly. And all the other problem is you can lower it too much by doing it that way as well. It's especially depending on the size of the tank. But if you're going to do it with that method, which I don't advise, I wouldn't say it works for really small tanks. I wouldn't say it works for really big tanks either.
But yeah, anyway, I can't remember how we got onto this, but I go off on another tangent. That was where was it? Oh, I've lost it already. God, here we go. How tall are both of you? You're taller than I think. You're taller than. Do you know what? Let's ask the question.
I'm interested.
Do you guys think
in who this person is, because they keep sending these messages as if they're like trying to date me. They said I had a big stump, and now they're asking how tall are you and I am. They're just asking you, so you don't feel left out.
Say in the comments how tall you think me and Ryan are.
And which one you think is taller? I look really short at the moment because obviously your camera is facing up to you, so you look really tall, whereas my camera is like, it makes me look shorter, if you see what I mean. My camera is in line with my eye line. I think my camera starts with my eye line, and then gradually throughout the evening I do this. Okay. And the bad thing is my camera is starting to overheat, which means at some point it's going to turn itself off. But hey, but we'll wait for people. Have you thought about cross breeze on it? You get a bit of cross breeze. Open a window. But Ryan is clearly 4'8", so Ryan's 6, and London Aquatic Design has met me, so that's it's wrong. That's just ruined the whole game then. Yeah, but it's wrong, but he has met me. Okay, well there you go. 5'8" for Ryan, 5'10", so 5'8". That's quite short, isn't it? That is quite short, and I'm taller than 5'8". Are you offended at that? I don't really care. Do you know what the thing that does offend me? Everyone goes, "You look way thinner in person." I'm like, "Oh, I look like some big fat guy on the screen." Ryan is 5'10". That is how tall I am. Yes, and I think you are about 6, aren't you? I think I'm 6'1",
but
6'1",
I
yeah.
haven't measured my height for a long time, so I might have started shrinking.
Was that before or after you lost your hair? Because obviously that adds a little bit extra.
I lost my hair a long time ago, Ryan. I can't. It was so long ago, I can't remember. It was when I was about 21, 22, something like that.
This is a very off topic, but I'm intrigued. Is that when you just very quickly when you were 21, did it make you panic at first, or were you just went, I don't really care. It is what it is.
I never. No, it's just I always had like a short haircut anyway, like cropped hair.
So you weren't out at first with a toupee, just trying to cover up.
No, I didn't care. I was just like it kind of suited me. So
yeah,
it's never
Jason Statham look, eh?
Exactly, yeah, especially when I'm so muscle bound. I feel like we've gone off on a tangent, and we've only done like. Well, before we do,
okay, yeah.
Shell Smuck 2 did ask earlier, what's your number one reefing pet peeves, and I can answer that with a video. So go and watch the video and absorb the message.
I'm not really sure what my ones are. Oh, I kind of did mine in a video as well last week. It's not about reefing. It's actually there is something about reefing because I hate changing the DI resin. I hate that. That is the worst job of everything I do. Changing the DI resin is the worst. And the reason it's the worst is because it's those little tiny balls that get everywhere. And I have 3 canisters of it. And when you have to like push it down and you screw the lid. Oh, that is the worst thing. I would literally pay someone to do that for me so that I don't have to do it anymore. Because, and the other thing I hate taking pictures of the coral. There are so many corals which are in the farm that aren't on the website because I can't bother to take pictures. Not can't be bothered. It's like, it's hassle taking pictures. Because you have to put them in a specific place to take the picture. And when you move them, they close up. And yes, it is my real hair. So
show us your chest wig.
So my chest wig. I'm really hairy with regards to my chest. So
the money he saves on hairdresser goes to lights. Exactly.
True. That's why I can't keep affording new lights. You see, so.
Number one pet peeve: how BRS videos sponsored. How BRS videos sponsored videos have gone downhill. I think BRS videos have gone up recently.
Yeah,
I think so. If you're talking about the second channel where it's just product showcases, I think that's fair enough. They're still useful. But if it's don't feel sorry for Ryan, by the way.
No, never. I'm like the worst person to feel sorry for.
But so like I think that the second channel where it's Thomas doing the product showcases, if you're watching that expecting it to be like the good old days with Ryan and Randy, you're going to be disappointed. But if you're watching that thinking, I would like to know what's in the box and tell me about the product, then they're wicked. They're really useful. But I actually think so BRS is a little bit more sporadic in the last 6 months or so. But I think their videos have gone up massively again. That series that you were talking about the other week with the biome they're brilliant. And they're 52 weeks of reefing series 2. They're brilliant. And I think they've gone back up. And sponsored videos. Go on, sorry.
That biome one, as I said before, but I think it's worth repeating. That is the best video I've seen in a long time. And it might be because I understand it. So other people might find it boring because I was watching it thinking people might find this boring if they don't know. But it was almost like there was this big mystery during the cycle where you get a tank and all of a sudden there's an explosion of one thing and then another thing and one of them mysteriously disappears. Like diatoms and like that, or dinoflagellates just goes away. But you never really knew why these things were happening. And then in one video or one series of videos, all of a sudden it like opened my eyes and goes, "Wow!" Like I've known what happened, but I never knew why. So now I know. It's almost like people can understand if you're experiencing it and you've got that, you have to wait, for that period of time when it's ugly. You can almost. Yeah. It's bearable if you know why it's ugly and what's going on. So,
and so the other thing is about sponsored videos. He said likes Thomas videos, by the way. But sponsored videos, and I guess that's are the YouTubers doing sponsored videos?
Possibly.
I think there's value in that. I'm biased because I want to be sponsored. I want to get paid money. But I think
of course. But it's like what are people expecting to will change if the video is sponsored. Are you going to give a different opinion if someone pays you, or are you going to give the same opinion?
I would give the same opinion. It would be the exact same video, but the perception would be, yeah, but you've been paid money to say this.
See, no, yeah, but the thing is, you have to be open. It's the law these days. You have to be open and honest. If you have to tell people if you get given something or if you're paid to do it.
But yeah, you have to tell people if you've been given something, but you don't have to. You don't have to be honest. And no one's gonna. If you lie about a product, no one's gonna put you on a lie detector and go, "Do you really like that pump, or are you just saying it?" So that's what people. The perception will be. You've been sponsored for that video, so therefore you're polishing it. And I think there's there's an element to that is true in that it's going to be if you've been given something or you've been paid or whatever, there's always going to be some part of you subconsciously that thinks, oh, I should say nice things because I've been given this. And just because nice people if someone does something for you, you want to do something for them back, don't you?
Yeah.
So there'll always be a subconscious element of that. But I think most people, and for a start, most of the equipment that we get, that YouTubers get sent, is good anyway. So it's easy because you can just say it's good, and it is. But most people, it costs a lot more money to buy their morals than a few £100 or whatever.
On the opposite side of it, though, as well, if you're doing a video on something which is not sponsored, are you out there going, "This is shit"? Because you don't. People don't do that, do they? They don't really do a review on a product and go, "This is rubbish." You see what I mean? So you're already, because you're putting a video out for people, it's already slightly tainted because you're only going to review something that you actually like. You're not going to go, "This is rubbish."
There are some people who make videos, not sponsored videos, that bought them themselves, and they will say good things about them because they want Telegram talked about this, because they want the manufacturer. So you might say, hey, Radion's bad example because Radion's a good lights, but you might say the new Radion Gen 6, wow, it's so good, it's amazing, because and you make a video about it and you upload it thinking, hey, Ecotech, give me a shout, send me some free stuff. But that's short-sighted. And I would imagine if I'm working in the marketing department of one of those companies and someone uploads a video or Instagram, whatever, saying, oh God, this product's so amazing, oh, I love it so much, I would imagine that's really transparent. And if I'm in the marketing department, I'm going to look there and go, we're not sending it to him because no one's going to trust him.
I know what you mean. That is true as well.
People can tell if you're being authentic and if you're real, or if you just.
Because the other thing is, would you accept something that you didn't really? We get, I'm sure you do. I definitely do. We get messages literally all the time, every couple of days, usually from a company in China, for me, saying they've got this new amazing light, and I just think, well, is it that amazing? I don't want a new light. I don't want to tell people to buy your light. So it's not just the money either. For me, anyway, it's not. It literally isn't. So although people go, oh, their view is tainted because they've been paid or they've been given something to do it, I actually disagree with that, because I get offered things all the time. And when was the last time I did a thing? The last thing I did was with Red Sea. And at the very, very beginning of the Red Sea videos, it says Red Sea. So it's and the condition of working with Red Sea at the time, I said, look, you won't get to see the videos before I put them up. And I can just say what I want, basically. So it's
that's it. That's I think that's the way most people do it. You never know until you've actually spoken to people, but I think that's the way most people do it. And you were about to say you bet I've rejected stuff. I've sent some stuff back. I don't get approached as much as you do, and it annoys me. I feel like I should get approached more. I'm like, why does no one send me
I'll
stuff?
start sending them your way.
I know. But I've sent a couple of pieces back, something that I've been sent through to make a video. I try it and I'm like, I don't really like it. So I'll say, look, I'll still make a video if you want, but it's just going to be saying, I don't really like it. And to be honest, I wouldn't want to make that video for myself. I think I don't want to do that. And both times I've said that, the company said, do you know what? Don't worry about it. Just don't make the video, and if no one wants to watch a video of someone saying this is average, because it's not like the stuff I've been sent is terrible. There's just a couple of things I was like, no, just not my cup of tea, basically.
Yeah, some of the comments in the comment section are actually far more interesting than the actual topic of this video.
Well, yeah,
I know we've obviously gone off topic. I was just some of them are really it's
we'll go back on topic because we have gone off topic. But...
It says, "I'm just wondering, having such a large platform, are you giving out bad advice, or are they reflecting bad on the hobby? What, in this video, or in the videos we usually make? This is the video where we tell you all the stuff that we don't tell you in the videos we usually make."
I can't find that. Where's that comment? Is that new?
8:19. So literally a few minutes ago. This is the very bottom.
Oh yeah, Tom Lavery. I'm just wondering, having such a large platform, are they giving out bad advice, or are they reflecting bad on the hobby? Bad advice about the products? I presume that's what he's talking about.
I wonder if it's the topic of the video where we're.
This is what he's saying. He's saying, I'm wondering if someone's got such a big platform, are they? I don't know what he's. Sorry, Tom. I don't quite get the question.
It says
please read earlier comment. Hang on, here we go. But controversial.
I see. Yeah, I saw that.
Reef accounts, right? With people, with good-looking people. You saying I'm not good-looking? Bloody hell.
He's obviously talking about me, so.
But a mediocre or bad reef tank.
Good looking with a mediocre reef tank.
I understand. Sorry, Tom, I missed that one. And so he says, yeah, okay. I don't know. I mean, if I don't see many of these, to be honest, because I follow accounts that I like and that I want to see what they're doing. So if there's a big account with a rubbish tank, I'm not going to follow it. You could have 100,000 subscribers, but if your tank's no good, I'm not going to follow it. There's Kit Kat's Reef is one of the bigger Instagram accounts I follow. She's got a nice tank. What are you smirking at?
He says, "I'm here for the hotness, Alex."
Exactly. Yeah.
You can always tell when I'm laughing at something in the comments.
I know, yeah. But so I've got and maybe I'm biased because I make YouTube videos more than I have an Instagram account, but I don't really do Instagram. But I feel like you're more likely to see influencer type stuff on Instagram than you are on YouTube. I think it's easier to have blatant adverts on Instagram than it is YouTube, because for whatever reason that's the way I feel. And I'm not saying if you're watching this and you've got a big Instagram following, you're conning everybody. Don't get me wrong, but I think you get more.
It sounds like
that's not what I'm saying. Shut up, Ryan. But I think that you probably get more of that on Instagram than YouTube. I'm sure there's still some of it on YouTube, but I don't see it, to be fair. But there's more on Instagram, I think.
True. But going back to the original question, do I care? Not really. I don't really care.
Do you care about what?
Why would I? Because they're basically saying that if there is an attractive lady, I assume it's a lady.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Is it okay But why does anyone care? Like, just let people do what they want to do, and if people want to follow them, let them follow them. And if you don't like it, don't follow them. It's exactly. Really as simple as that.
There are some accounts. There's someone I know who's had this kind of stuff. Clint Coral Reef. Do you follow Clint Coral Reef on Instagram?
Possibly. I don't recognize the name though.
Jordan and Grace. They're a couple. Jordan works at my local fish shop when he's not at uni. Really nice guy. They're both really nice couple. And she gets sometimes she'll post. She's quite an attractive girl. Sometimes she'll post photos of her in front of the tank, and she gets a load of creepy DMs, private messages
from you,
and a lot, not for me, but a lot of people as well. If you've got a female reefer,
I found her.
There you go. If you've got a female reefer, particularly attractive female reefer, a lot of people are like straight away, you don't know what you're doing, and you know about this because of your history of your channel,
my past history.
I
follow them, and we've spoken.
There you go. What's that? And that's not the only one. And Close Reef as well. Yeah. I would imagine she gets stick. I feel like she might have told me she got stick when we met at TMC, but she's got a really nice tank. She's got a couple of really nice tanks.
I was genuinely, and I told you this already, but like obviously privately in WhatsApp, I was very impressed with Close Reef. I couldn't tell you what her tank was like now, but I watched some of her videos. There's only about 3 videos on YouTube. I was incredibly impressed by what she did and how
it was good,
how she presented it. And I actually think it's a shame that she didn't put any more out. I've never met Chloe.
100%.
I know you obviously have, but I wasn't sure what to expect. It came up as a YouTube suggestion, and when I clicked it, I watched the whole video, and I don't watch the whole of most videos. I have a very short attention span. But she didn't say like in my videos. I'm like, hey, this is my coral farm. Whereas hers was delivered so like perfectly, and I just thought she needs to do more of these, but for whatever reason she didn't.
Yeah, of all of the small channels, in my opinion, hers is the best.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, that's not true. That's not quite true, because there are some good small channels. To be fair, what I'm trying to say is, for a small channel, hers is really good. She's good. This is the channel Chloe's Reef.
Yeah,
Chloe, if you're watching, do more videos because they're good.
Yeah, because
And you're
them.
talented. Yeah, exactly. But I feel like we might have gone off on a tangent again, Ryan. And I feel like
my
this
next
is your
one,
fault.
if you want to get back onto it quickly, is
I think this is a shared one.
Which I've still got like 5 left. So which one are you talking about? Oh, the Acclimate one. Is that the one?
Yeah.
With corals. Okay, yeah. Do you want to say it, or do you want me to say it?
You do it. I'll read some comments.
Okay, so Alex and I obviously discussed this earlier, and we both came up with the same one for one of them, and it's the fact that neither of us acclimate corals. Now, when I send out a little,
I want to caveat that, but carry on. I'll caveat.
Neither of us acclimate corals except Alex's caveat. There you go, Happy. So I don't acclimate corals. I don't know what your caveat is yet, but we'll go through it. And most shops don't acclimate corals either. So obviously, when I have 60 corals come in, or like a couple of boxes of corals, I can't sit there and drip acclimate them all. So what usually happens is I think this is your caveat, they get put into the tanks so that they can get to the same temperature. Is that what your caveat is?
Yeah, basically.
Oh yeah, so they get to the same temperature, and then once they get to the same temperature, I take the bags out of the water, cut them open, and then immediately take them out and put them into new, fresh tank water. So obviously the corals that I'm getting are coming from Indonesia, and they've been in, or some of them are, and they've been in the bags for maybe up to 2 days sometimes. So it's worthwhile for me to get them out as quickly as possible and put them into new clean water. But corals, from what I've been told, remember, I'm not a scientist, have their own form of acclimation by how they transfer water into their body.
Osmosis or something. Chris Meckley talks about this.
Yeah, they do it like slowly, don't they? So they almost acclimate themselves. So but I will tell everyone, if anyone's ever bought corals from me, every single person will have a little letter that says, make sure you acclimate these, and this is how you do it.
Yeah. So I think the reason I put this as a question mark on my list, because I don't think this is that controversial, and I don't think this is this is probably something that this isn't, hey, I don't do it, but you should. I think actually I don't do it, and you probably shouldn't be too bothered either. There are some things that you definitely should acclimate. Clams, you should acclimate.
That's not coral. That's like saying but you should acclimate a fish.
No, it's not, because it's similar, isn't it? It's the case. Anyway, no, you're right. It's not.
Yeah.
but corals generally. So what I do is I float them in the water for half an hour, whatever, to roughly get the temperature the same. Yeah. And then I'll put it out on, if it's an acro, which it normally is, put it out on the side and let it slime up for a couple of minutes.
Yeah. And
then it's got its protective layer or whatever, and then I whack it in. And this leads on to, but actually, let's finish this off. So that's all I really do. I never drip acclimate corals, and I think I don't know, is it a waste of time? With corals, I don't think it does any harm necessarily. With fish, I think it's harmful to drip acclimate them, which some people might not agree with. But I think you probably do. You sometimes, actually, no, let me qualify that. Sometimes you do more harm than good.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that at all, but with corals, probably no harm doing it, but I don't necessarily think there's a massive benefit.
There's a really good question that someone's put. They said, what is the thought process around your acclimation guide that you provide? I don't acclimate corals either, but if you don't see ill effects, why send the note? It's because it's expected of me. So people expect me to provide some sort of information. Otherwise, you're just getting a box with a coral in it. So
Do you know what though? One thing with acclimating corals, whilst I don't do it properly, that I've had times before where and this was years ago before I really knew what I was doing properly,
yeah,
where I've bought corals online, they've arrived, I just basically put them straight in the tank,
yeah,
and they've all stripped within 5 or 6 hours.
interesting.
Now, and I think actually that isn't necessarily because of some awful sudden water change.
Yeah,
I think that might be because of shipping stress and because they weren't settled properly by the seller, and 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 all that sort of stuff. But I don't know. I don't think it's that. I think this isn't one of the things. So from your point of view, because you tell everybody to do it,
yeah, yeah.
that makes a lot more sense. From my point of view, I think acclimating corals is just warm it up if
Part
you can be
of
asked,
the
and then chuck it in.
acclimation guide is also about dipping them, which is the important bit.
Yes.
So
Yes.
everyone should dip their corals, whether they're from me, whether they're from a shop, whether they're from another online seller, or even especially if they're from Reef Talk. Especially
You and
because
your
those
bloody
Asterina
Asterina starfish. They're cleanup crew, man.
they're not clean
Actually,
up crew.
the one thing I'll say on that, so that's a really good point. And I always dip corals. However,
Oh,
I
clean
don't
up
think
Reef
you
here.
should dip. Hey, hello. I always she always comments and I miss. So hi, Tony, how you doing? Only acclimate acros, dip everything. Yeah, okay. So dip everything. I don't dip everything.
Yeah.
Because I've been burnt a couple of times, and recently I bought a smooth skin. What was it? A Hawkins
Yeah.
Echinata.
Yeah.
It was delivered personally by a guy who lives half an hour, 45 minutes, or an hour, let's say, maximum away from me. So it wasn't
Yeah.
out of the tank very long. He really carefully delivered with another coral that's absolutely fine. I dipped it and it bleached
Yes. Yeah.
almost the same evening. And it was like, oh, gutted. And it's because it's a smooth skin and it's delicate. I shouldn't have dipped that. And I know the guy. You just because you know someone doesn't mean, and you know their tank doesn't mean there's no pests. But that's not the point. It's what I'm saying is I don't think he'd sell it to me if it was covered in aquapora eating bugs or something. So, there are some corals that you shouldn't dip, but most of the time, you should do.
He says I don't want to get Alex's starfish either. So,
but yeah, so there you go. So that's acclimating.
and the other part of acclimating is also that a lot of people are told to start with their corals on the sand, which again is the safest thing to do. But if you know what your par levels are on your tank, which probably 99% of people don't know what their par levels are, which is why they're advised to start with it on the bottom of the tank. But I don't start with the corals again. You can't even do it on the coral farm because it's all the same height. But even when I have a tank, I don't start with the corals on the sand and then gradually move them up. And I know that you're the same with that as well, aren't you?
No, I always say you should do, and actually, that should be what you use frag racks for, not for storing corals that you've snapped off and that you're growing out, selling out.
Yeah,
you should use them, put it on the low down, and then move the frag rack up and up and up.
Yeah.
Before you move into place. And but the trouble is, so people always say that, hey, what you should do is start by putting your coral on the sand bed, then move it up a little bit, and then move up a bit more, and then settle it over the course of 2 months into its final place.
Yeah.
But if you've got a frag rack, you can do that. It's not necessarily a smooth increase on the side of your tank in terms of par. But if you don't have a frag rack, okay, day one you put it on the sand bed, fine, easy.
Yeah.
Oh no, hang on a second, my bloody hermit crabs knocked it over.
Yeah.
Now it's covered in sand. And so that's one thing. But okay, let's say you get past that and it's not a problem. So then you go, okay, do you know what? I'm going to move it up 4 or 5 inches the next week or the next month or whatever. Next week is probably more realistic. Where are you going to put it? Have you got a spot in your who in their tank has got a spot where you can wedge a frag in so it won't just get knocked off or whatever, and you're going to put it in place and then remove it again? Too much hassle.
The reality is once it's stuck down, you'll probably just leave it where it is.
And most of the corals I buy are from places that run par higher than I do, or at least as high as I do. Yeah. So it would be an issue if you've got mega strong par and it's coming from a low par environment, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah.
But if it's coming from par of 300 and you've got 200 par in your tank, then the height difference isn't going to change things. So
Yes.
I think that's something I would tell people to do, but maybe I won't tell people to do from now on because I think it's unnecessary.
I think the caveat of all of this for the whole like live stream is that we obviously get to talk to some extent millions of people. Like so I don't know what your biggest video is, but my biggest video I think is like 600,000 or 700,000 views. So if no, 'cause I think yours is similar. I saw yours. Let's put it this way, I'm pretty sure you've got more views in total than me. But what I'm trying to say is that we have a duty of care to some extent. So although we might not do it ourselves, we have to tell people best practice. So it's not like we're lying to you. It's more the fact that if I go, I don't dip my corals, and all of a sudden 2,000 people don't dip their corals either.
I don't know about that. And actually, some of the stuff I try to talk about on the channel is typical advice that's churned out that I think is rubbish.
Yeah.
And I think.
But do you repeat it though, or do you not repeat it?
I don't know. Couldn't tell you. I'd have to go back and watch 200 videos.
Neither can I.
But so I guess to a point, yeah. But I think generally, I try to just if I think something's daft, like I've made a video about, I watched it today actually about setting up cycling a saltwater aquarium.
Yeah.
And that my method is put a little bit of live rock in, pour in a bottle of bacteria, and then put your fish in straight away. Done.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, the responsible way to do it would be that you're talking about would be do that, test ammonia every day for 5 days, put a bit of food in.
Yeah.
After a week, when you've got still 0 readings, then you're okay. But I actually think that's not necessary. You could argue that is necessary, but I think if you're putting in a piece of live rock that you've kept wet from on the way back from the shop, you're putting bottled bacteria in as well. You put one fish in, and then you don't feed heavy. You're going to be fine. That's the way I've always done it, and I think I've said that, and I think it's better to do it that way than or not better. Maybe it is better to do it the long way and test ammonia and all, for 2 weeks in a row. But realistically, you can do that.
I did it when I did the Red Sea program. I did do it, and the thing that I actually found really, really valuable, not from my perspective, but remember, this is for people who are just getting into the hobby. It taught people patience. It taught people how to test their water. It taught people how to read their test kits and know what's going on. Like, if you see what I mean. Reading a piece of paper saying this is the nitrogen cycle is not the same as actually doing it and witnessing
and seeing what's happening. Yeah, that's true.
I think those bottles of bacteria, they work. They're great.
Yeah.
But there is a huge amount of knowledge which is missing now from people that are using those, where you can just walk into it. Back when I started, and probably even when you started, you couldn't walk into a fish shop, get a bottle of bacteria, and a fish the same day.
Sell it to you.
They wouldn't sell it to you, would they?
Yeah, no.
So, whereas now
that's a valid point, actually, and you're missing out on learning. I think that's a decent point.
I think. And remember, this whole hobby is about patience and learning and understanding and caring. And I don't think that you get any of those if you walk into a fish shop, they give you a bottle of bacteria and a clownfish, and you put it in your tank, you go, that's good. Got clownfish now. What have you learned?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess so. But yeah, I take the point. And I forgot. So acclimating, we were talking about, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So and how do you acclimate fish then? An invert? Because fish is.
I just take water from the tank and put it into the bag with the with the fish. So like a cup. I've been doing it for years. And then eventually once you've transferred enough water, you pour a little bit out, put extra in, and then just put it in. But it's not like a drip. It's usually like a 20-minute, 15-minute process. Yeah. Yeah.
I've got no objection to that. What I do have an objection with is floating it in your sump for an hour to get up to temperature, putting it in a bucket for another 2 hours whilst it drips. That I think is a bad idea. But the way you do it, I quite like. What I do though is go on.
No, I'm just interested why you think it's bad, because you said it earlier and you didn't explain why it's
because
bad.
There's a chance that there's going to be ammonia in that bag because it's going to have had a stressful time on the way back. It's a small ammonia is going to build up in that bag. They don't put most shops don't put treatment in it or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's gonna build up. When they ship them across the world, they put stuff in that blocks the ammonia, I think. Is that right?
It's actually that is possibly true, but while the bag is sealed, the ammonia is not harmful to the fish. It's as soon as you open the bag, it becomes toxic.
Interesting. Okay,
so that's why
enough.
when you get like a box of fish shipped over, you definitely don't slowly acclimate them. You cut them and you put them straight into fresh water.
Cut the bag.
Yeah, not the fish. And when I say fresh water, I don't mean actual fresh water. I mean
no, salted. Yeah, new salt water. Okay, but that's
yeah. There's definitely. I'm not sure the science behind it, but there's definitely something behind. Fresh oxygen going into the bag turns the ammonia toxic.
Very interesting. Okay, but that's why ammonia basically is the short answer. Is why I don't drip acclimate or leave for ages. But all I do is let it float for half an hour, and then chuck it in. If I think that the salinity is significantly different in the shop I bought it from to my tank, then I would do what you do, or maybe drip acclimate, but a quick drip acclimate, not like dup, dup.
Do you ever ask
like a tap
if they have copper in their tanks?
No, I used to, but I don't anymore. I know. So I think. Oh, do you know what? So I know the shops I buy from. I know. So some of them they run on the same system as inverts, so I know they don't run copper.
That's Farnham, isn't it?
No, it's Reefkeeper Moss End.
Oh yeah, I don't know that. That's not the one thing.
I think that's right. Anyway, maybe I'm not right. Actually, maybe I'm wrong. But there are other shops.
Yeah.
But Reef Dreams, for example, when it was in Winchester, they used to, and Ocean Project do this as well now. They go through cycles when they're treating with copper for a couple of days, and then they're treating with something else or whatever. So when you buy, depends on where you should ask them, where are you in the cycle? But to be honest, I don't really care because I'm not going to put their water in my tank anyway.
No, but some people would.
Yeah,
I'm
true.
not saying we would, but some people definitely would.
In that case, you absolutely should. If you're going to put water from a shop in your bag, in your tank, ask the shop if they're treating, because you'll get copper in and then problems.
Yeah.
I feel like, do you know what? It's an hour and 42, so we'll start thinking about wrapping up. But there's a few comments that are good uns.
That's right.
That I do want to catch up with. First off, what dip do you recommend?
If you're asking me, Coral RX is the one I've been using. It's almost like that's the original OG coral dip. Yeah. So that's the one I use for everything.
That's bleach and tea tree oil.
Well, it works.
But anyway, I'm not saying mix your own. I'm just saying that's what it is. I use Reef Primer.
I use Red Sea.
I use Red Sea and I use Reef Primer, potassium salts. But
doesn't work on Asterinas, does it?
No. Oh yeah, it does. But I've just got millions of them. But no, the Red Sea stuff I like because it just mixes in easily. The potassium salts, it doesn't always dissolve that quickly. And I have had sometimes when I've put a coral in, a frag in, so there's been some undissolved potassium salts on the bottom. The coral touches it, and then that burns the skin.
That's interesting.
So that's why I switched to Red Sea, but I've still got the potassium, the Reef Primer, and I think that's actually a lot of people I trust say that's the best. But whatever.
Well, I might have to look into that. Reef Primer.
What did you use to dip the smooth skin, Andy? I used Red Sea for that one.
So I've dipped smooth skin with Coral RX, and the other thing that happened once with Coral RX is that I put the corals in it, and then I asked Mindy to take the corals out. And because I was going out and she didn't. And like I came back about 45 minutes later and they're only meant to be in it for 15 minutes. And the corals were all still completely fine. So it can't be that harsh if they can last 3 times as long. To some extent, it was good that happened because it allowed me to trust it more, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Like it made me realize if I went into over 15 minutes, I wasn't going to kill them.
Okay, another question. What are your favorite marine channels?
Definitely Reef Dog.
Reef Dog is cool. I mean, obviously,
Yeah, I've watched like at least 3 episodes of that.
But to be honest, I think most of the ones that we would say you're going to know about.
True.
But give me a top 5.
Me? I don't even watch 5 of them.
Prestige Reef, Reef
No.
Talk.
Like BRS are obviously very good. Coral Euphoria is an unusual, like not an unusual. It's a smaller channel which you might not have heard of, which is brilliant. You want me to say Reef Talk because occasionally I watch one of your videos. I like the dramatic one where you didn't put a video out. Dun dun dun! No video today, guys.
That video from start to finish, from thinking about what I'm going to do, to making the thumbnail, to writing the title, to recording it. I didn't script it or anything. That took 5 minutes flat to do the whole thing.
Which is still longer than all of my videos.
Yeah. And that's and normally it takes obviously 3 evenings basically for a video for me. That took 5 minutes. I put no thought into it whatsoever. And it had a click-through rate of 25%.
Yeah.
So 1 in 4 people who saw the thumbnail clicked on it.
I clicked
That
it.
is insanely high. It's high.
Yeah.
Not most of my videos are half that. And I was like, how the hell has that happened? Because I just thought, you know what, I'll put out a video. In hindsight, it was a bit clickbaity. Like, oh God, I've messed up or whatever. But I didn't mean
You knew what you were doing.
I have a process where the way my mind works to create a title, but I wasn't thinking, hey, this would be amazing. Yeah. I was just like, oh, I did it at like 10 o'clock at night. Anyway, so marine channels. Other than that,
as I've said to you before and on here before as well, I don't actually really watch a lot of channel. I don't watch BRS's channel. It would have to be something that's exceptional that makes me want to watch it. I probably will watch the season 2 of 52 Weeks of Reefing. But the reality is, I do this all day, every day. I don't want to do it in my evenings as well, if you see what I mean.
That's the where you and I differ, because I can't get enough of YouTube. I watch all sorts of stuff. Not just I watch like obviously on like audio gear and camera gear. I love all that sort of stuff as well. But I'll watch anything, and I watch a ton of reefing stuff. But the best stuff, I've made a video recently, my unpopular opinion on your favorite YouTubers, and it was basically the most important YouTubers to my eye. And Coral Euphoria was number 1. But to be fair, if you want Aquapora and SPS advice, he's the one to go to.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't necessarily watch his videos if you're thinking, how do I run an LPS tank? Because that's not what they're aimed at.
That's so true, actually. You have to go to what you're looking for. So if you want, like,
and it's not that he doesn't know what he's doing with LPS. I'm sure he'd have an amazing tank. But he is trying to advise you on how to keep Aquapora.
So basically, if you want an acro tank, go to him. And if you want like basically some half-assed shoddy information, come to me. So, or if you want the answers of the question that you never answered or never wanted the answer to or thought about, come to me.
Yeah. But yeah, okay. Let's catch up with some other questions. When I started, you couldn't go into a shop and find a skimmer. Oh, you must be going, but this must be days of under gravel filters then. What else? Oh yeah, jellyfish. Someone else asked about this. Bubbly Reef asked about this earlier. It's this one. Ooh, I can never. Why is it so impossible? There we go. It's working. They're actually working. Before they weren't going around in circles. They're working now. So this is just a little. Obviously, it's fake jellyfish. But I saw it on Amazon. I thought it was really cool. And I was talking to Ryan earlier about this. So I want when you click on a video, if you've never seen my channel before, you don't know what it's about, and the first thing you see is me going, "Hi guys, how you doing?" I want you to instantly think this is about fish. And so I've got so this here, that's like, if you didn't know anything about corals, you wouldn't know it's a coral. But that, you'd be like, right, I can see there's a fish there. And now you'd be like, oh, there's a couple of fish tanks there. So it's a bit more obvious. You're laughing at me because I'm a YouTube nerd.
It wasn't nice. I can't repeat what the first. No, well, I suppose I can. Because you went, I instantly want to people to know it's about fish. And I instantly thought sexual predator when you tell your channel.
What? Oh, because you look at me and you think sexual predator.
Yes. So that's why I was laughing. Wow. I can't be trusted at doing this anymore, I don't think.
I did not expect you to say that, to be honest. But there we go. How do you get moving on? How do you get rid of a tunicate? Tunicates are good. Growing and hardly attached to the rock. I don't actually. Do you know what? I don't think I've ever seen it. I saw a tunicate in a shop a couple of months ago. Apart from that, I don't think I've ever seen them. But I don't know. But tourniquets are good, I think. Get a Moorish idol.
Says the guy with the nipples on the walls.
Yeah.
True.
Do the fish shops have some responsibility to make sure people are educated? Yes and no.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
But you're thinking of an example that you spoke to me about recently. Really poor advice from a fish shop.
No, I just think that they're like the first line of defense.
Mm.
They are the people. Now, look, they have a responsibility to also make enough money to keep running as well. So, but good advice will keep people coming back.
Yeah.
So it sort of goes hand in hand, because once you found especially as a beginner, once you found a good fish shop, you don't need to go anywhere else, do you?
Mm.
So it's almost like good customer service to give people good advice. But I do think that they have a responsibility, yes, because people go to them for advice.
They absolutely do, but not and there are some things that you just can't you don't know about when you're first in the hobby or whatever, and you don't know where to look or whatever. So and you need a shop to talk to you about stuff. But there's a limit on this. I see you smirking. I'm going to go scroll down and have a look at
No, so people are going, poor Alex. And I was just thinking to myself, don't say poor Alex.
Poor Alex.
I say these things on these streams. You just say to me these things to me privately.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know where the line is anymore, because if I can say things like this privately, I should be able to say them now.
Anyway, so they I think they absolutely do have a responsibility, of course, and you should never be a shop just going, yeah, mate, you can have 5 trigger fish in a nano tank, that's fine, and they should educate. But at the end of the day, you are responsible for your own actions. Yes. And the hobbyist needs to look out for themselves. The shop should absolutely have a minimum standard. But if you've got some moron going in who hasn't done any research, and like I heard in a shop a few years ago now, and these people had bagged up some clownfish, and they were going to walk into the front of the shop with the shop owner, and he just was asking them questions. And this is what a good shop does. This was Reef Dreams in Winchester.
Yeah.
Is what a good shop does. They go as they're talking to the customer. Obviously, you want to like have a rapport and be nice and all that sort of stuff, but you're asking questions. And he was saying to them, "So what? Tell me about." I can't remember what he was asking. But he was asking about their tank, and it turned out it was freshwater.
Oh my god! I remember that day.
Really?
As in, I was the freshwater guy.
Oh, I see. Yeah. But so that is the standard that you should have. You should have people that the shop should absolutely ask questions to ascertain if there's a stupid beginner error going on.
Yeah.
And to a point. But if you go in and buy a yellow tang and put it in a Fluval Evo, that's on you. You've got to be able to do your own research, and especially and I wouldn't expect us, if you tell a shopkeeper that's what you're going to do, I might expect them to say, I don't know about that. But there are times actually there's a shop near me it's a local Maidenhead, and they don't I was going to say they don't know who I am. I couldn't think of a way of saying that without sounding arrogant. But they don't know that I know
who you are.
What I don't mean that. What I mean is that they don't know that I'm an experienced
international famous YouTuber.
No, it's not what I'm saying. Don't know that I've got a few years under my belt. And they always ask me, like if I buy fish, they'll always ask me questions, which is a good thing, about the size of the tank it's going in, all this sort of stuff. And every now and then, that like you can see there, like I bought a Tomini tang for my little 2-foot cube, and they were like, I thought they were going to say we won't sell this to you because it's not right, and I was like, I didn't know how I was going to deal with that, but I was going to say, mate, it's fine. So I think there's a limit. You have to be able to make your own decisions. But I like that because they're because Maidenhead always doesn't get a great reputation, but they care. And they won't just sell you anything for.
That's what I mean. So some Maidenheads are brilliant, but I think some of the other ones are obviously letting down the team. But I can't remember the last time I was asked what size tank I had or anything. Then again,
these guys do it all the time. No. But and I'm going to keep going down. Coral Euphoria, yeah. Coral Euphoria is the goat. He is indeed. Tidal Gardens, yeah, they're really good. Do you know what I like about their coral care videos? is that they don't say, like, if you go onto Live Aquaria or any website in the world, basically, to look at a coral, it will say, is this beginner, medium, or beginner, intermediate, or expert level? And does it like high or low flow, high or low light? Than doesn't say that. He'll go through and tell you its requirements. So you will go back and watch one of his videos. You will not hear him say this is, or most of the time he won't say this is a beginner coral. He'll just describe its care requirements, so you will know, hey, I can keep that or I can't keep that. So he'll say things like they're hardy, but he doesn't just classify them blindly. So that's what I really like about them. So
that's interesting. I didn't know that.
And it's already starting to bite.
Yeah.
So
that's how I feel too.
Technically, I did upload, so you know, Reef made vid to say he had messed up and still got. Yeah, I know that was. I couldn't believe how many views that got. I thought some subs would watch it, the hardcore guys, but I couldn't believe how many video views that got. I thought that would get 4 or 5 thousand.
I'm going to put a video out there that says I fucking hate Reef Talk. just to see what happens.
Here's why. I made a joke thumbnail a while ago that I sent to you, and it was me going like this.
Yeah.
And the title was "You won't believe what Prestige Reef told me."
yeah, I remember that actually. I don't remember what I actually told you. It was obviously something. Yeah, I do remember that.
Can't remember, but there we go. Anyway, yeah, there we go. And everyone's mocking me for being worried about it. Reef Builders is good as well, yeah. But these are all the channels that everybody knows about. So you know, there's the channel. So I like so there were some small channels I like. Close Reef, whilst it was good whilst it lasted, and did very well to get to 500 subs in 3 videos. By the way, it took me a lot longer than that.
Oh yes.
I really like Jay's Real Reef. I say it all the time. What else do I like? Bearded Reef is decent. I'm trying to think of more niche channels.
How do you have the time to watch all of these?
I'm addicted.
Yeah, see, I
don't watch it. To be fair, if a channel I like posts a video that I think looks rubbish, I don't watch it. But anyway, let's keep going. You've bought coral from Abe. Oh, I'd love to be able to buy his coral. It'd be so awesome. It's just the guy. I can't remember what this was about, but
I do. I remember what it is, but I'm not going to repeat it.
Does Reef Talk have a white van? I feel like that was referring to a comment earlier.
That is referring to that, and that's what the other one was as well. They're saying that I'm more like that than you because of this.
Yeah, I understand. No, but anytime I rent a van for whatever purpose, I buy a copy of The Sun and put it on the dashboard, just as a little joke to myself. I am way behind on the comments anyway. Oh, you live in France. That's interesting. I found their advice was nearly always literally contrary to what I would have seen on YouTube. I can't remember who you're talking about, but I didn't know you live in France.
Probably fish shops, I assume.
Yeah. I love France. What are your favorite online coral sellers, Alex? Well.
Wow. But it's not me.
I don't. I've probably bought. Have I bought more corals from you? I've bought as many corals from you as I bought from any other coral seller online.
I drop them down to you, don't I? So it doesn't
or I collect
like them. They're online selling with between us because obviously
but
we actually
that's
see
it.
each other.
Well, yeah. But I don't generally buy stuff online.
Yeah,
because I buy stuff from hobbyists online, and I buy stuff from Ultimate Reef all the time. But I've got a better idea of what that is, so I don't tend to buy stuff online. I just don't. I prefer going and seeing it.
Why do you buy stuff from Ultimate Reef but not from?
That's a good question, and I was trying to work out why.
It's probably price. Ultimate Reef, I assume, is probably a lot cheaper.
Partly price, and you tend to get more generous frags.
Yeah.
But also, when I buy from Ultimate Reef, I collect 99% of the time.
Yeah.
I don't think I often. Maybe not 99, but 90% of the time I collect. So if I get there and I'm like, then no. But they're normally more based out. I find they're hardier because I like that they've been in a tank. It's the more unusual stuff. But I also find that I feel like I know what it's going to look like if I'm buying from a hobbyist, because the corals I buy, like I've bought a strawberry shortcake, from a hobbyist, and I know what a strawberry shortcake looks like. There are various varieties, but I know what this one's going to look like.
Yeah.
And I just don't like. I don't know. I just don't like looking at a photo and thinking, is that how it actually looks? Does it look better? Does it look worse?
There's also
sorry for ruining your business.
no. There is still a lot of stigma here involved with, not a stigma, fear is better with regards to receiving corals in the post. And I'm the same. This is what's insane. If I buy coral from someone else, which I do, I worry about it coming in the post, if you see what I mean. So people must have that same anxiety when they buy from me, especially the first time. But I think after some of my clients have bought so maybe up to 15 times now, pressing for all your car on. It would have been good if you put that at the very beginning.
I've misspelt it as well. Anyway.
Oh, did you? I didn't see. I'm dyslexic, so I didn't even notice. There you go. But I think there's still a lot of stigma involved with, or fear with, receiving corals in the post. But what people don't realize is that every single coral that is in all of our tanks came in the post at some point. Whether you buy it from me or whether you buy it from a shop, it came in the post. None of these corals will just appeared there.
But that's one thing. I like the biggest distance possible between reef and tank as well.
Yeah.
So if I like other people to take the risk for me, but to be fair, I think the only places I can think of that I've bought from online are Signature Frags, Prestige Reef, and I bought some from mail order corals years ago, and wasn't massively impressed with the photo of and the likeness of the coral. Oh, we've got a visitor.
See, a lot of people, I can see in the comments, people are saying, "Oh, what do you think of Signature Frags?" I myself have bought. I'm going
to interrupt for just one sec because Danny, I've not told you yet, Ryan. I'm going to do a collaboration video, YouTuber collaboration video, and Danny, I'm going to message you and see if you're up for it, because it'd be cool to have you. Anyway, sorry. Carry on.
What is this collaboration video, out of interest?
I can't tell everybody, can I, Ryan? What's it about? Oh, it's really good. It's good.
Not going to be a Christmas Carol again, is it?
It's a wicked. No. It's a wicked idea. I was going to make it myself, and then I was like, why don't I get 10 people to do
make it for me?
It's a lot harder work doing. Anyway, I digress. You will be invited.
Tell me in a minute afterwards, and they'll probably blurt it out on the next live stream.
I know. Yeah.
But what I was saying,
so you were just saying you buy from Signature Frags,
yeah. I've bought, I think, either 2 or 3 times for him, but I didn't buy one piece. I bought like 30 pieces, because if I do, I buy in bulk, and I think people sometimes think there's animosity between the online sellers. As far as I'm concerned, there isn't any animosity between the online sellers, and he's bought from me and I bought from him. So when people say, "Oh, what do you think of him?" I think I wouldn't buy from them if I didn't think they were good.
Yeah, but that's the way it should be as well, by the way.
Yeah. I agree. Ryan, it's not for YouTube, Ryan, more adult oriented. Where's that come from?
I've got no idea. It's probably something you said earlier.
Maybe. I think it all went downhill after you got that phosphate canister out.
Yeah, probably.
I quite like Foxy's Reefs one. I think we should point that one out, but that's just for advertising for me. But I know it's like a shameless
plug. The beauty with Prestige Reef is the coral will look better than the pic. See, I say this all the time.
I know.
It absolutely will. And that's true.
It is,
but that's because your photography sucks.
There is that, but also because I'm lazy. And it sounds terrible. So if someone buys this is the number one secret of buying stuff from me. And it doesn't work every time. But the other day, someone bought a Utter Chaos frag, and it was for 2 heads. And they got something, I think, like 12 heads, because I didn't have any 2-head frags. So I will send the 12-head one, because I'm not going to quickly frag it, because then it's a risk. So that's the reason people always get better corals than the pictures. Yeah. And I know I could probably sell more corals, but there only needs to be one time where someone doesn't get a coral as good as the picture, and all of a sudden someone's disappointed. They might not come back. So I'd rather sell less and have people happy, and obviously hear people like good experience, if you see what I mean. Oh, it was him. There you go.
There you go.
Oh, it was 10 heads. Yeah, see? There you go. There's proof that I'm not just making it up.
If that Utter Chaos, was that one of mine?
Possibly, yeah. Yeah,
There we go.
possibly. Why'd you say that? Oh, yeah. So that's like a well-famous. Actually, it was one
No,
of yours.
just-
Yeah, I think
So
it was one of yours.
check it for Asterina starfish.
But no, I check things before they go out, unlike you, when you just hand them to me with like 5,000 Asterina starfish on them.
I mean, this is probably true of all Atticus corals, to be fair. But the point really of that is that coral has been in my tank for 5 years, so it's hardy, especially when it's 10 heads.
6 months as well.
Yeah, and the rest, yeah.
Yeah, so it's but that's proof there from James. I often James is a paid actor. I want to know who this person is. Is it Shellsmuck?
Shellsmuck, yeah, he's good, isn't
he? Yeah,
you mentioned a Coral Online website in Germany once, yeah. Euro Corals. I bought from them pre-Brexit when we were allowed to,
yeah.
And they do some nice acros, and I liked their photography is really good in that they show you blue and white, and it just looks natural.
Yeah.
So I really like them, and they had some wicked stuff as well. They're expensive. They're expensive.
Yeah, I remember they were. Yeah, I never got anything from them, but I do remember them thinking, how do they get away with these prices? But they have a much bigger audience than we do. Yeah. Because if you can ship to the whole of Europe, and if people like you were buying them, then you see what I mean? It's like there's a much bigger audience. Brexit did change things. Would I be shipping to Europe if I could? I'm not sure. I don't know if I would, but
too much risk. The cat is telling me that it's time to go and feed him, and we've been on more than 2 hours.
Yeah.
My camera is still overheating, but it hasn't frozen, which is wicked. I'm really pleased with that, because it cost a bloody fortune, and if it was going to pack up halfway through these live streams, I'd be furious.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, yeah, thanks for joining me, Ryan. It's been good to have you along. Oh, and actually, one last thing, we got to further Ryan's advertising. I got a mystery box with a trackie. Ooh, that's pretty impressive. How much was a mystery box with a trackie?
So they actually bought 3 mystery boxes. Okay. So that's why they got a trackie as part of their combination, if you see what I mean.
Right, I see.
It wasn't like if you're getting £150 coral and you're as well as 4 other corals or something, you'll be buying it, won't you?
There you go. So the answer is buy 3 mystery boxes and you'll get a trackie.
If people buy 3 mystery boxes, they absolutely will get a trackie from me. And those trackies are so nice. So
his name is Fred Titmus. And he's named after a song by a band called Half Man, Half Biscuit. It's a wicked song. Anyway, I think we're done.
We are done. We need to have our chat now, don't we? Where I get told off for all the bad things I said.
Yeah, you've got about 10 minutes. Oh, actually, do you know what? It's a Monday night. I might grab a glass of water and we'll have a bit of a chat. But anyway, right. So thank you everybody for watching as always. You finished? Do you mind? And we'll come back next week. I think it might be you again, Ryan, next week, unless I can get someone decent.
Yeah, try and get someone decent. So anyway, it's been a pleasure. So hopefully people like seeing me. I don't know if they do or not, but hopefully they do.
Yeah,
I know I don't have a $1 million reef tank, but I do have some nice boobies. So
exactly. On that note, see you next week, everybody.
See you later. Bye.
You and those boobies. Yeah, we're done.
Yeah. Every so often I feel bad because I say